What's up, Kingdom fans? Welcome back to the channel. And so today I'm going to talk about things we want to see in this upcoming arc that I know will just surpass all of our expectations, and also a few things that I think will happen or just simply want to see. But also, if you enjoy this channel and seeing plenty of Kingdom content, remember to smash that subscribe button down below and hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with the channel and the manga, because I know you won't want to miss a single thing coming up. So diving right on in, I wanted to talk about the Rukiomi army and the tactic I would love to see being used against them in this war. Since we know nothing about Riboku schemes in the war so far, or this Zhao general Ganshu, we have to presume he will only be using the 40,000 men assigned to him and no others, while the Rukiomi army is 60,000 and last we see gets split up into 3 separate forces, presumably 20,000 each for Rukiomi, Ryokoku and Kanao. Now this is where my thoughts on Ganshu's attack strategy comes into place. Instead of waiting for his forces to come face to face with all 60,000 of kin forces and probably be flanked by at least one of them, he should set off immediately with his full forces and target one of the 2 armies that is on the outside of the 3 formations and hit them hard and fast to ideally keep casualties to a minimum and force the 2 surviving generals to come together. If done correctly, he could wipe out the kin force that he targets first before the other 2 even have a chance to head over and give reinforcements. Now let's just assume that Rukiomi took up the center pass for the battlefield, meaning Ganshu would come into battle with either Ryokoku or Kanao. Now if it was me, I would rather go up against Ryokoku, because Kanao earned the name the Undying General for a reason. He is an absolute berserker when it comes to battles deemed impossible to win. He lives for fights where nothing but death is expected, so even though he will be outnumbered 2 to 1, he will not order a retreat and will go down causing as much damage as possible. However, Ryokoku, seeing the numbers are 2 to 1, since he is more of a strategist general than a combative general, he would try to either make a strategic withdrawal or take up a purely defensive position, keeping casualties to a bare minimum until he receives reinforcements, which would be a much easier target than taking on a rampaging bull like Kanao. Is it a perfect strategy? No, of course not, but if you want to have the best odds, then you might as well take one opponent off the table as soon as you can, and take full advantage of his lower numbers. Now, moving things up north, I want to talk about the Wuhan and the Wusen battlefields. I would love to throw Heki into that conversation, but quite frankly, as much as I would love to see him take up a crucial role in this war, I struggle to see him being anything other than a sacrificial pawn for one of Wusen's schemes. So with the Wusen battlefield, needless to say, we all presume it will be a battle of brain versus brawn once again. Though seeing how elite the Sika army is, they surely have at least one strategist general among their ranks, and this is of course leads to Don Sarai, the man who is a complete and total mystery to us. He is the only Sika general Wu Sen is unfamiliar with, and therefore it is my firm belief that he will be Wu Sen's first target, so he can at best take the unknown piece off the board, or at the very least force him to show his hand and reveal his strategy and or methods, or what hidden trick the Sika army might have up its sleeve. Now, as for what happens in the battle, we just don't know enough to make any solid predictions, but there are 2 things I want to see in this war. The first being a bit silly, but I want to see a re-emergence of Shunsu the Immortal, where he is at and whose command he is now under. I'm guessing he's under Sou'ou, not only because they seem to know each other previously, but also because Shunsu was one of Denrimi's closest subordinates, and Sou'ou and Denrimi, despite disagreeing all the time, I genuinely thought they were very close friends. Not to mention Sou'ou was the only one to actually speak up to Wusen for being cocky going into the Battle of Hango, which caused the death of Denrimi and Aku. And second, I want to see a repeat of the Western Zhao invasion final battle, where Wu Sen and Riboku came face to face for a conversation and Wu Sen tried to recruit him. Now needless to say, this also will not work on Shibashu, but to say it will be an interesting conversation would be a massive understatement. Now, for the Wuhan battlefield, I don't want to talk bad about the guy, but despite Mu Ten's words before the battle that one of them will slay Riboku, odds are Wuhan won't even come into contact with a Riboku army, but he could come into contact with a Sika army. So here's the image I have in my mind. Somehow Wuhan not only defeats Reijuku and the northern forces by Hango and Jian, presumably led by Enkan, he leaves a force up north led by presumably Kanjo to remain in that position to heal the wounded and continue the role as Shield of the North to deal with any enemy remnants. While Wuhan moves down south to the Wusen battlefield. Now the Wusen battlefield is at a critical moment and Kansuro is making an attack that is causing massive damage to the Wusen army. And I mean the actual Wusen army, not one of his generals. And Wuhan begins to attack that army from the rear to slow down their momentum and get a chance to fight Kansuro, which will basically be a repeat of what happened in the Battle of Hango, but the Gyokyu will actually be successful this time because they're led by Wuhan. Or even possibly the exact same scenario, but instead of Kansuro, it's Shibashu himself. But I'm getting too ahead of myself. If he could defeat Reijuku and Enkan, that would already be impressive enough, but knowing Wuhan, he will want to get more accomplishments because his pride won't let him lose to Shin. And speaking of Shin and his battlefield, while I think that whole area is shrouded in mystery and possibilities, I don't really have any major thoughts for Shin at this moment, which is a genuine surprise. But I will say this about the opponent directly opposite of him, Fu Te. This is Fu Te's first real chance in the entire series to show us what he is capable of. Ever since we met him, he has always been one of Riboku's closest commanders and always acting on Riboku's commands. Now, as a dude claiming he wants to take the seat of one of Zhao's three great heavens, he has shown us absolutely nothing to prove he is even worthy of that title. Or quite frankly, even the title of a general, really, if you think about it. Sure, he is very good with a sword, but in terms of tactics, all we've seen him using is Riboku's tactics on Riboku's commands. The dude has never acted independently. So while I fully expect him to die from fighting against Shin, I want him to at least prove he is worthy of commanding a force of 30,000 men. I don't think that's too much to ask. Now, how can we talk about Shin without talking about Kyokai? So I expect us to see Kyokai really come into her own as a general in this arc. We're always hearing about how Kyokai accomplished something on the battlefield, but we have never gotten to see her strategic methods. Saying Kyokai is criminally underrated when compared to her generation's generals, this is an absolute fact. As for her battlefield, it seems very uneven with her 20,000 versus the 50,000 army under Kisui, so she may receive reinforcements or we will get to see her genius in play, which will allow her to take on such a force. Now, as for her opponents Kisui and Bate, if we are being honest with ourselves, we know that they stand zero chance of defeating her in combat. Honestly, the only chance I can see them having is if they both take her on at the same time, but even then their odds of success are tiny. Aside from outfighting them and outplaying them, the only thing I really want to see before they die is that they exchange some words about Kyokai's promise to Ryuto before he died and how she intends to protect the people of Regan after this war, even if they hate her for what she has done, which they will. Kisui is like a god to the people of Regan. I fully expect for the people of Regan to be like the people of Nanyo for the Haishin unit, except the people of Regan will be for the Kyokai unit. Now, for Yoko, we know literally nothing, and therefore we do not know what to expect. Though if I was to guess anything, it would be that Yoko will be the target of the war for Riboku's textbook surprise attack, simply because he is the biggest unknown factor in this war for Zhao. At most they know about him is that he is a monster on the battlefield, but other than that they don't know anything about his command style, though I'm willing to bet he takes a logical approach to it after being Rakuakan's lieutenant for so long. So imagine basically someone who's nearly as good as Rakuakan when it comes to strategy and formations, except he's way stronger, way buffer, and can take on the likes of Shin and survive. And so basically, just like Wu Sen will probably do with Don Sarai, Riboku will want to take the unknown piece off the board as soon as he can. Now we come to the two most southern battles, Muten and Yotanwa. Now for Muten, I do not know what to expect from him. I simply want to see him show why he is on par with the likes of Shin and Wuhan. We haven't seen him do much in terms of genius tactics in years, and it needs to be seen now more than ever. As for what I want to see other than that, is Muten killing an opponent general with his own hands. I don't think we've ever seen that in the whole series, and a great dramatic development that I can picture in my head is Muten defeating Bafuji, and then Bananji, who hears this on the neighbouring battlefield, comes to kill Muten and avenge his son. But obviously Muten will then take out Bananji as well. I think Muten killing Bananji would probably be the pinnacle of Muten's combative accomplishments for the entire series. He can just sit back at the army headquarters for the rest of it, telling his troops what to do, moving pieces on his little strategy board. Because if you can take down Bananji, you're going to be feared for life. Word will spread and no one will want to mess with him. So we come to the final battlefield, that being of Yotanwa and the main Ganmon army being led presumably by Shunsu. Now above all else, we have to see Yotanwa be the one that kills Shunsu. Yotanwa has been after his head since the Western Zhao invasion, and Shunsu, for some unknown reason, has a burning hatred for any and all mountain tribes. And since we know all the type of events that happened in the north before Riboku came, like pillaging and such, we can more or less safely presume why he hates them. But hopefully we get to see at least some parts of his past so we can just confirm our theories, because this dude is a total enigma. Now that I think about it, in this battle, something else we have to see is some of the merciless tactics used by Riboku that kills the large army of the Xiongnu up north. Although that happened over a decade ago, it's still something we have to see. Supposedly the forces of Ganmon are the best suited to fighting mountain tribes in all of Zhao, so we have to see exactly what makes them that way. Sure, there's just years of experience fighting them where they probably acclimated to their level of just pure ferocity and mercilessness, but surely they have to have their own methods other armies would find, let's just say, unconventional, to say at the very least, or that some armies might not even consider. And seeing as how the forces of Zhao love to brag about their horses, I'm presuming it's something to do with horses. Needless to say though, we also just need to see some outright brutality in this battle. We need to see Baggio and the Figo King let loose. I fully expect this battlefield to be the bloodiest of them all, and if it isn't, then I will be rather disappointed, to be honest with you guys. And so Kingdom fans, I think that's all I have to say on what we expect to happen and what we want to see in this upcoming arc. Obviously there's more, and obviously some more is going to come to us as the arc goes on. Remember, if you enjoyed this video and like to see Kingdom content, then please smash that like button down below, and remember to hit that subscribe button with that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all things Kingdom.